Hello folks, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me once again. You are always most welcome. Well, today we're going to look at the Matchbox PB4Y2 Privateer. Take 2. Take 2? What am I talking about? Well, you've just seen me, most of you have just seen me do, recently I did the 1000 video show, party show, which I hope you enjoyed. I know it was a very long show, but quite hopefully fairly entertaining one. But you'd think after 1000 videos I'd have learned how to do it by now. So what did I do? I actually filmed this video review yesterday already. And then, like a complete fool, somehow I managed to forget to download that particular video. It was one of several, including the ICM reviews. And I got the ICM reviews downloaded okay. Forgot to download this one as well. And then, because the memory card was full, I erased the memory card and lost it. So I'm back to square one. I've got to do the whole thing again. And it was packed up, ready to go back to Neil from Creative Time Wasting, who very kindly loaned it to me. And it was all packed to go back to it. So I kind of know I know exactly what I'm going to say this time. It's almost like I've got a script, or I had a dress rehearsal, you could call it. I'm a bit frustrated, but that is just a lesson learned. Don't delete, double check you've downloaded everything anyway. So, Matchbox. This is one of the, you see it's got the hockey stick design on the box. So this is the generation that came after Lesney had gone bust in 1980, late 82, early 83. And it was then this guy, I've forgotten his name, David something, was it Yoon? This Hong Kong chap that actually operated out of Macau, and he had a company called Universal Products, and they basically bought the rights to the Matchbox moulds and the rights to use the name, etc. And he did so for about 7 or 8 years before he sold on to Revell. But the good news was that he retained the colours, and he retained, with the smaller kits he didn't retain the stands because they had Lesney's name in it, unfortunately. If it just said Matchbox, it's kind of silly that Lesney did that, really. They should have just left it as Matchbox, not put Lesney and Co, because that meant he had to drop those, and I think that was the only reason he did drop them. So one of the great things about Matchbox was lost the day Lesney finished. The magic died for me, to be honest. But anyway, don't want to be too negative. But it was good that he carried on with the multicoloured plastic, and it wasn't that obvious, apart from the box design change, which I think was to signify it was a different company. Different but the same, if you know what I mean. But you could see there was a difference. And I suppose that's understandable. But let's have a look at it anyway, see what we think. So this is PK606. Nice that it does include data about the aircraft. It includes a very interesting history, which I'll read you in a second. Let me zoom you in and have a look at the 3-colour kit it is. And I think there's quite a few sprues in here, but I know that they have got some of the propellers broken off. So we have to be very careful not to lose anything, obviously. So I get this back to Neil as complete as possible. I've got props off the sprue, which I'll come to in a second. You can see it's got the Chinese writing here. This shows you it's the Macau 1986 production. And on this side we have 3 variants, 3 colour callouts, marking options. We've got the US Navy at Palawan in the Philippines, May 45, this one, which is the one that's got all the gun turrets. Then we've got the Canadian Royal Air Force, Royal Canadian Air Force, to be correct. Just a word of warning though, this is the one that's got the windows in, which we'll come to in a minute. Because if you want that one, I'm thinking my friend Steve in Canada will be thinking, oh, I'd like that one. Well, just hold on a minute, because you're going to find out you've got a lot of work to do. And then you've got the French, operating out of Tunisia, the French Air Force as well. Sorry, the Navy, beg pardon, Aero Naval, so it's the French Navy. Okay, so let's do it again. It's not often I don't think I've made that mistake before. Yeah, and it was actually video 1001, so so the second millennium of videos hasn't started very well. But anyway, don't want to get better. Right, now, got to be very careful with this, because I know that some of the clear parts are a bit delicate, and we've got, for some reason, there's 2 sets of decals. Now, I don't know whether Neil obtained a second set himself, or whether it just came like that. Let's look at the colour plan first of all, and the history, so I'll give you that. Now, this is what I really liked about Matchbox when they did these colour plans and a bit of history. Some manufacturers, here we are, 50 years later, 40 years in this particular case, 40 years later, and a lot of manufacturers can't be bothered to do any data. You know, these Chinese manufacturers and others, no data about the aircraft, no information about it, no technical information, nothing. Now, if they can't be bothered to do the research on that, how can you trust the research that they've done on the actual, the actual model itself? I've said this before and I'll say it again. There's more to being a model kit manufacturer than just having a LiDAR scanner in your hand, yeah? These guys did everything old school and they did it nicely, as did Airfix at the time as well, And Revell, again this era, Revell also gave you history, so there's no excuse today for people saying, well, you can just go and research that. That's like going into a restaurant and saying, oh, we don't cook the food, sir, we sit you down, we pour you wine, yeah, okay, and we'll give you a big bill, but you've got to go and cook the food because you can do that yourself. What a ridiculous load of nonsense, think about it. Oh, well, I can go on Wikipedia and spend 3.5 days researching about the plane. Or one person at the factory could do it and save everybody that buys the product the trouble of repeating it again and again and again. Think about the amount of electricity that gets used by, instead of one person doing it, every single customer doing it. Turning into a rant, anyway. No problems here, obviously. Right, so it says, we've got to start off on the right foot, haven't we? For our second 1,000 videos. Have a slip of coffee. See, I'm back on the coffee now, no more champagne. In 1943, following the success of the B-24 Liberator, PB4Y1, a variant of the Liberator for overwater patrols, the US Navy initiated an improved version specifically suited to their requirements. 3 B-24Ds were converted to XPB4Y2s. Still doing it. And whilst retaining the B-24's wings and landing gear, this new version had a fuselage lengthened by 7 feet. Yeah, especially at the front, isn't it, I think? That's where it's longer. It had a single fin. Yes, of course, because the Liberator had like a Lancaster-style fin, didn't it? At the back. Rear tail fins, and it has a rudder, different engine nacelles, improved defensive armaments and provision for the latest electronic detection and ECM equipment. Some additional weight was offset by deleting engine superchargers which were unnecessary for low altitude flying. Named the privateer, it entered service in the Pacific Theatre in August of 1944. Undertaking long-range visual and electronic reconnaissance missions, attacking shipping and land targets and doing air-sea rescue work. Privateers later served in the Korean War, and several were used by the French Navy in Indochina and North Africa. A total of 736 privateers were delivered. That's quite a few, isn't it? Serving the US Navy and the French Navy until 1962. Experience with the C-87 Liberator transports, which were designated RY1 and RY2 in US Navy service, led to production of a limited number of RY3s, which incorporated many features of the privateer's airframe. Of 46 examples built for the US Navy, 27 were delivered under the Lend-Lease arrangement to the Royal Air Force as Liberator C Mark 9s, though not all of them were actually delivered. It's got a span of 110 feet, this plane. It's big, isn't it? Length 74 feet. Obviously got 4 Pratt & Whitney twin Wasp radials. Twin banks. Developing 1,350 horsepower each. So that's 5,500 horsepower it's got in total. Jeez. Maximum speed 250 mile an hour. It's a heavy old thing, isn't it? Yeah, weight, empty, 37,000. Just over 17 tonnes basically. Gross, fully loaded, 29.5 tonnes. Like a tank. Jeez. I think that's about the same as a Sherman tank, isn't it? Weight. I suppose it's not that bad then, is it really? Bomb load, 5.8 tonnes. Wow, there you go. This is the colour guide. And it gives information in different languages on the back. So zoom you in, and we can see here we've got the classic Matchbox colour plan, which is one of the things I always really liked about it, because it bridges that gap, doesn't it, between it being aimed at youngsters and also being aimed at serious modelers. This enables it to be both, really. The youngster may not do all this, but if you were in your teens, you're more likely to go through and paint all this stuff, take it a bit more seriously, and if you're older, you definitely will, of course. And what have we got? We've got canopy framework to do. We've got ball turret with the guns. And there are different versions. Wheels and tyres. The nose surround. Sorry, the nose interior, I should say. And then you've got the pilots and co-pilot, navigator, etc. and some of the instruments, etc., etc. So when we open it up, and this is the only thing that used to, if I'm honest, disappoint me. I just want to say, Neil's very kindly loaned this, and I mentioned to him, I think, that I did once have the Lancaster and the Flying Fortress in the same range, which is the brown range, yeah, the brown range. And I sold them on, and I've always kicked myself. But if I'm honest with you, I was never that impressed with the brown range. I suspect, well, I've kind of already seen it, so I'll get into it in a minute, but the brown range was not the Matchbox's finest hour at all. It wasn't as good as the 24 scale kits, and it wasn't as good as the red range, in my opinion, generally speaking. Generalising a little bit. One of the things that annoyed me, especially when this was 1986, is they couldn't have done this in colour. Now bear in mind that before, you had the red range, for example, actually, when you had the 32nd scale kits, they were the same as this, weren't they, now I think about it? I think I moaned about that before as well. But you had those boxes in the red range and below, where it showed the colours. It showed the camouflage, etc., in colour on the back of the box, with the different colour call out, different schemes. Now you've lost that, it's all gone to black and white. It's a bit of a shame that they did that, I think. I think they should have continued printing on the back of the box. I mean, obviously it's cost, you know. But it lost something, is what I'm saying. The charm of those Matchbox boxes, when you flick it over and it's got the colour schemes, they weren't always that correctly printed in the correct colours, but at least it gave you a better visual idea than black and white does. It's a bit crude, isn't it, for 1986, really? Anyway, we move on. So you've got the three schemes here. It shows the markings very handily, actually. It shows all the... there are some stencils to put on. Rockcliffe Ice Wagon, that's the Canadian one, isn't it? Which I think has been used mainly as a transport. This is the one that's got the windows in. More on that shortly. Bit of a nightmare coming up, I've got to warn you. And then you've got the French Navy one there. So that's very nice. So I like the way that I just wish it was in colour. So we've got our decals here. I've got to be very careful. I don't want to spoil them for Neil. That wouldn't be right. But I'm just gonna give you a little peek behind the curtain here. Because there's a very foxy looking lady I can see here. Look at this. Can you see that? Oops, he says. Not doing too well getting off. I'm not going to peel it right off. But Neil says he's going to build this for Matchbox May. I'll come back to that in a second as well. There's the lady. What's her name? Red Wing. Ooh, looks like she's an Indian lady. Not got a lot of clothes on. In fact, she got no clothes on, I don't think. Oh my goodness. I'll get myself demonetized. Neil says he's going to build this for Matchbox May. Matchbox May. Yeah, that's probably the better month for him. May, God forgive you, May. Anyway, then you've also got this... I don't know why there's two different versions of the decals, and one's on a bigger paper than the other is as well, interestingly. And on this one, I'll zoom you back in. Again, he's obviously going to use up these decals between them, I think. So we don't have to be too worried about it. It's not a collector's stash like me. Can you see that? Rockcliffe Ice Wagon. Sorry, my palm's in the way. There we go. That's better. Cool. And you got the French Navy markings there. And the American option. Now, having already done this review once, I actually have to say to you, I have to be up front to say, I prefer the American version because it's the one with all the guns. It's got guns everywhere. The French one's got less guns, and the Canadian Royal Air Force one has got very few guns, because they use it more as a transport, as I say. There we go. Right, now then, instructions. Now, I never really like these opening instructions. There's no title at the top. It doesn't even say the name of the model at the top, which I find really baffling. It really is. Anyway, again, this is the Macau ownership of Matchbox before it went to Revell. But you do get your 3 options of the aircraft here, and they call it 1, 2 or 3. You've got to be very careful with this kit because there's quite a big differences between them, especially on things like the guns. So you can see you start off putting in your pilot and starting your cockpit off complete with your yoke, and then you've got your gunners here, your turrets, ball turret. Again, it does remind me of the Hong Kong model Lancaster, which showed all the Lancaster turrets and didn't say anything about which was which. That's actually easier on the Lancaster, I think, because they're a bit more obvious, but here slightly less obvious. I just wish they'd just say, well, this is the mid turret or whatever, you know. And then here you've got these side gun ports that it has, where it has like a bulging blister, plexiglass blister on the side of the aircraft with guns pointing out, very well armed, especially the American guys. Then you've got obviously your nacelles and your engine, front of the engine there, the Wasps. And then this is where it gets a little bit difficult, this kit, so just be warned. I'm hoping Neil's going to go for the American or French option, because it's his choice, but yeah, he'll understand why in a second. It says here, trim off as indicated. Trim off shaded area, it says. And I found this a little bit puzzling. It's not very clear. It's talking about that little window there. Now that's in the American version. If you go to the Canadian Air Force version, you've got to trim out every single window. There's no easy way of telling you. There's over 25 of them. I think did I count 24 in total? We'll come to it in a second. All those windows you can see going in there, which they provide the glass for, the clear part, you've got to cut out those windows because it's already moulded in this version where it's solid. Actually, they haven't moulded it very well. We'll get to that as well in a minute, because again, that's later Matchbox isn't Matchbox to me, as I've said before. In this version, you've got the blisters on the side of the guns, and again, a couple of windows that have got to be chopped out. So you've got quite a lot of work to do in this kit. It's going to be very fiddly and a little bit awkward. Then you get on to obviously completing your cockpit, pilot and navigator. Then you've got more options with the nose. You've got the plain nose here, or you've got the one that's got the ball turret in the nose. I go for that one, that's the American version. Equally, that you have 2 versions of the rear as well, with another turret, gun turret, or just a tail cone. And then finally, I say finally, not quite finished. We're putting on the getting ahead of myself. Putting the wings on and the engine nacelles coming in here, and then also your canopy, glass house, as we say, on top of the cockpit. And then over here, there's actually a third option for the privateer in terms of the nose, different type of turret, I think it is. Again, then we've got the interesting tail, which is completely different to the Liberator, of course. And then you got all your main gear coming in here, and your alternate rear gun turret that we just mentioned, bringing the gear in with the legs and the actual bay gear covers, doors I should say. Same at the front. Remember, it's a tricycle undercarriage on this aircraft, it's not a tail sitter like a Lancaster or a B-17. And there's all sorts of domes, and this is the electronics version, number 1 and 3. And same on the other side. And that's it built, basically. It doesn't sort of tell you, but that's completed. Right, so this has got a weakness, this kit, which I'm going to go straight to and show you. And it's a weakness that I think is a product of partly its design, and I suspect it was designed about 83, 84, just after Lesney had gone. Let's start by looking at this blue sprue, and you'll see what the problem is. So I mentioned that if you go for the Royal Canadian Air Force, you've got to create these windows. Now here they are, but you'll actually see that it's a bit flawed anyway, and it's going to need a bit of filler. Mind you, Neil is well up to snuff on handling something as easy as this. I think his skills will be more than adequate. to give a very fine result. But can you see those those windows? Well, you're going to have to cut all those out. And flip it round. You can see on the other side, you've got to go around, and there's loads of them. So there's 2 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then a whole row of them. And I think it was 24 I counted. Let's just check again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 24. 24, and there's a bit more on the tail section, I think, as well. So 24 windows you're going to have to cut out. Now that's not going to be fun, to be honest. And it's also a bit poor. A bit worrying that they've obviously got a little bit of a miss there, so that's actually got a hole. So I hope it's not pressurised, this plane, because it's got a depressurisation hole there. But yeah, there's a bit of a negative, and I've said before, it's a bit strange because if you look at the other side, it's got them actually. They're obviously capable of doing it because the tooling has it already done for you here. So it's a bit weird, isn't it? It's very inconsistent that they've done that. Very strange. Anyway, being a bit grumpy and a bit grouchy about it, but as usual, it's the excellent quality of Matchbox plastic. I don't think anything changed in terms of plastic quality. I'm guessing it was even the same supplier because the colour looks the same as it did on the Buccaneer. So that's that one. So I might as well obviously segue across to this, as I mentioned it already. It's good to be in the way, isn't it? Be careful. Yeah, so this, again, same blue plastic, very nice. This is like a French blue. But yeah, it's really weird to me that they've bothered to do the windows for you there, so that proves they can do it. So why they didn't do it on the other one? Except for the fact that, I suppose if they did, that would restrict the variance, and they'd have had to produce perhaps two separate fuselage sides, which would have bumped the price right up, wouldn't it? I think it would have been better if they'd have had them all punched out and then you just had a plain non-glass piece to put in, to fill it in. That would have been a better solution for me, to do it, to achieve the same result, but to make it easy for the model, because that's nightmarish. That's got to be the worst conceived design on any Matchbox kit I've ever seen, I think, really. It's just going to be problematic. Anyway, back to the parts. Beautiful, no flash, so they've still got nice moulds, there's no problems there. And generally, Matchbox, as we well know, here's the blister for the guns, look. Matchbox generally do go together beautifully, They're like Tamiya light, aren't they, almost? Over here, we've got the big sprue with the wings. Yeah, how huge the wings are. Wow, look at that. So it's classic Liberator wing. That we used on the Privateer, of course. We've only got one propeller here. Now the others have all fled, apart from one that's broken, as you can see. It's just got the central spinner and boss left on the sprue here, look. That's a bit unfortunate. But don't worry, they're not lost, they're here. They're here. Look, got one here. That's what it looks like when it's off the sprue. I don't know whether Neil bought this cheap. It says £12 on it. I mean, that's a bargain, isn't it? Good value at 12 quid, I've got to be honest, for a brown range kit. But it's got all the usual, it's quite softly moulded. Panel lining is a bit too light, isn't it, really? It's so subtle, it's barely noticeable. I think when you get paint on it, they could vanish, to be honest. I don't mean the wrinkles on the elevator. I'm more worried about the general wing panel lining. Very light. A few scratches, but that's understandable. It's a 40-year-old kit, Same here, and you notice it more on the darker. The darker one, there's a few scratches on this as well. It becomes a bit more obvious. Yeah. I got my camera at a funny angle. Let's just turn it a bit. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's a bit scratched and just it's probably been shaking around in this box for a few years as this kit, but that's to be understood. Panel lining seems better on this surface. It does actually. It seems a bit more distinct. And then you've got your there's a bit of scratchy damage here on this ball turret, on the back of the ball turret. See it? It's a little bit scratchy. Again, that'll happen over time. Over time. And then we've got. Well, don't worry, Neil. There are several of these. They're all floating around the box. I'm going to try. Unfortunately, one which actually got broken off, as you know. So, are they all present? Yes, they are. All three of them are present, the actual blades. Sadly, they're separate. So I'm going to try and make sure there isn't any more damage. Let's just bear with me for a moment and I'll just have a little reshuffle here. That's what the government need, isn't it? Obviously politics. And reshuffling out. That's what I need. Right, now then, the clear parts. And you'll notice just how many little windows there are. Now my point, coming back to this point about the windows, the point is I think that they should have done these in clear, but also done them in the blue plastic, and then you could have just inserted them. I mean, you're going to have to be accurate when you cut these windows out, because you're going to have potential for a lot of gaps. It's not a well-conceived thing, is it? If you go for the American version, like the box art shows, don't have the problem, apart from that one that's got a bit burst through. Needs a little smear of filler. As I say, Neil's brilliant, he'll sort that in a jiffy. But yes, here they are. So here are all those damn windows you're going to have to put in. Just look at the number of them. What have we got? It's more than I thought, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 32 windows there are. Now, you don't have to punch out all of them. I think there was 5 or 6 that were already done for you, the recesses. So there's about 30 windows then that you've got to cut out. Oh, jeez. I mean, the actual clear parts here, they're a bit distorted, I've got to be honest. But they're okay. They're of their time, but they're fine, nice and thick. Not terribly scale-like. Look how thick it is. Look. Yeah, good 1.5 millimetres thick. That is easy. Maybe more, maybe 2 mil. You got your little turret there. So there's the 2 top turrets. But it's fine. For a 72nd scale bomber, I think the quality's not... You wouldn't accept it if it was 32nd scale. But I think that's going to be okay. Speaking of clear parts, just an interesting story for you. You remember that we had the... going off at a tangent here for a second. We had the border model, Heinkel HE111, that had those very iffy clear parts indeed. Well, the owner Stuart has actually gone back to the importers and complained, rightly so. And he said, "Well, I don't think these are really up to much, and perhaps maybe not merchantable quality." And they've come back, and this is Jumblies, who are very, very good actually, and very helpful. And they've actually said, other people have had better examples. We'll get you some clear parts. We've spotted a kit that's got better clear parts. Now, my video was helpful to him because I think he was able to send them a link to the video and they could see so that he doesn't need to send the part. It's there, the evidence, isn't it, for everybody to see. And some of you have got that kit and have got better clear parts. So there's obviously a bit of variation in that process. I do wonder if Stuart's example wasn't one of the very first ones to come off the production line. They haven't quite got the heat or the pressure turned up right on the injection moulding machine. It does look like that because they had this sort of ghosting in them, didn't they? It was a bit weird. Like it wasn't quite filling out the mould, Perhaps temperature problem, I wonder. Anyway, that's great news. So he's going to get replacement clear parts. So apart from that, of course, that kit was pretty nice. Some of the oil canning effect I thought was a little bit overdone, but it does take away a big chunk of the criticism. So that would probably put it up to a 9.5 out of 10, I think. No, maybe 9.75. Now, good news there. Anyway, what about this one? So Neil, this is my second attempt to do this review. Hopefully this time I won't delete it. Yeah, I think it's a little bit. In some parts, it's really good. In other parts, it's a tiny bit disappointing. I think this thing, as I've said about the windows, if you're going to do the version on the box cover, you're fine. But if you're Steve in Canada and you want to do the Canadian version, you're going to be very, very. Oh, you're going to have some fun, I tell you. Don't think it's going to be very straightforward at all. Cutting out that many windows is just a pain in the backside. I can't imagine me doing that. 30 windows you've got to cut out. It's crazy. So it's got a bit of a weakness in that. It would be better if they'd have just had them already punched out, like the ones that were punched out here, and then you insert, you have the blue windows to insert if you want it to be this version, making it plain. that would have been the manufacturing way around that problem, but they choose to just make you do the work, and I think it'll be nightmarish to do that. So I think it almost rules out being able to do the Canadian one. Some of you out there will be able to do it, and will do a fine job of it, I'm sure. But I think it's quite off-putting, isn't it? And I think when it first came out, that must have been quite off-putting for young people that got the kit and then thought, oh no, I've got to cut out. It's really difficult to do that, I think, especially for a youngster. So, bit of a downside to it, but overall, good decals, still usable, I think, as well. And an interesting aircraft. I like the version that's got all the guns. I mean, it's got turrets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's got 6 gun turrets. Is that right? 4? No, that's wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, it is right, 6. It's a lot of gun turrets, isn't it? That for bristling with weapons, isn't it? But anyway, thank you very much. Marks out of 10. I think I'm going to give it 8, 8.5, 8.5. I think it's 8.5 if you're going to do this version. Maybe 8, or maybe even 7.5 if you're going to do the other version, which makes it nightmarish as a job. Not something to be tackled. So it'll be interesting when Neil, when you're watching this live, if you're watching, shout out and tell us which one you're going to do. And yes, hopefully this will actually get to YouTube, this video, and not get thrown in the bin by being deleted and all my efforts being wasted like last time. Nobody to blame but myself. So I'm going to go with 8.5 out of 10, which is actually a fraction more generous than I was yesterday. Because when I realised that, I thought, oh, what? Yeah, it is a bit of a flaw in the strategy of how they want you to build it. It makes it a bit of an uphill struggle, I think. So just stick with the box art version with the attractive Indian lady on it. Yeah, I'm amazed as well actually that it shows that box art with this naked lady. Yeah, on a kit. Yeah, I'm surprised actually. Aimed at youngsters. Different times in 1986. Anyway, there we go. So 8.5 out of 10 is where I'm at. Thanks for watching. Thank you to Neil for lending us the kit. It's very kind of you. And I will now, having repacked it, ready for the postman and had to unpack it and do it all over again, I'm now going to repack it a second time. You'd think after 1,000 videos I'd have learned how to do it by now, wouldn't you? But there we go. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you thought it was interesting. And until next time, stay well, stay safe. Don't forget to give us a like, please. Give us a thumbs up. Become a member. If you want to support the channel, that's always very helpful. And you get lots of bonuses and benefits from that as well. If you check out on the memberships page. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, take care of yourselves. Thanks a lot, and bye for now.